Tattoo artists and body pissers of Reddit. What is the most uncomfortable job you have had to do? NSW. Finger goes in Cheeto bag. Finger goes in mouth. Finger grabs navel piercing. Why is it infected? My aunt used to run a tattoo shop up until 3 years ago because it was in a bad location and she got a good enough offer of sale. My favorite story of hers was that someone came in on St. Paddy's Day and wanted a tattoo of a shamrock around their butthole. She refused at first, but then the person offered her $2,000, and since the person was almost entirely sober, she did it. After hearing this story, I remembered that my cousin's birthday is the 25th of March and she got a really nice laptop for it about 6 years back. I'm pretty sure her computer had been bought with butthole money. I got my first tattoo when I was 18. Went into some walk-in shop in downtown Vegas. First half of the tattoo goes well. Outline is down and he started shading. Then he disappears for an hour. He finally reappears. Goes, sorry man, had to tattoo a Playboy bunny on some chick's tee. My boyfriend is a tattoo artist and owns his own shop. He once did a tattoo on an uncircumcised gentleman of a rabbit right on the head of his penis, and a top hat on the foreskin, so he would have a rabbit coming out of a hat. He's also done Where's Waldo's head on the head of a penis, and tattooed a teabag, like a Tetley teabag, on someone's scrotum. The stories he tells me are phenomenal and I don't know how he does it. Makes me wonder how many seemingly normal people are walking around with odd tattoos and piercings on their genitals. I'm a tattooer, but not too many personal stories. However, my buddy who is a pisser was piercing a ginormously fat lady's hood. He couldn't hold up her belly and pierce, so he ran duct tape under her gut and had her hold it up like reins while he worked. Another friend of mine had a girl OD and die while getting tattooed. Don't take pills, kids. I've been piercing for about 6 years now. I will generalize when I say the most uncomfortable position, as a hetero female, is when women clamp their legs around your head upper body just as you've penetrated the hood. It is a knee-jerk reaction but not a good position. I generally use my elbows to keep their legs spread. I've seen so many disgusting vaginas, the back to front wipers, currently on their period girls, and once I saw fresh CM inside of a woman. It was my, or their I suppose, luck that their significant other was standing behind me watching in said situations. I made a habit of putting a couple drops of lavender oil in my mask to avoid odors. It has never made sense to me that people clean their noses out before a nostril piercing but don't consider checking their lady bits before a genital piercing. You could always wear one of those plague Dr. Bird masks. I had to tattoo very early in my tattoo career. Snoopy's doghouse around an older woman's vagina. When I asked why, she said, so when my husband pisses me off I can send him to the doghouse fun times. I read Snoop Dogg's house and got really confused about why you'd want a tattoo of that. Of course, the real tattoo isn't any better. Someone I used to know pierced his own sister's clit. He said later that he regretted it. Been piercing for nearly 10 years. Now, one time I had a rather elderly gentleman come in. He was in his 70s, wore a pink 3-button polo shirt, khaki shorts and golf shoes. He was in need of a jewelry change out, as his old jewelry was old and tarnishing. He had his Prince Albert stretched to a diameter of 9/16 of an inch, and it had essentially caused the urethral lining to pucker out of his piercing and pee holes. A quick change out and clean up, and he was on his way out the door. As he was leaving, he asked for my name as he put his hand out for a shake. I told him my name and he replies, "Nice to meet you, I'm Dong." At this point I lost it and started to laugh so hard I cried. He realized his folly and laughed with me. I'll never forget that. I was getting a tattoo, and this big homeless looking guy walks in. He looks at me, my artist, and takes his shirt off. He turns around and shows us the dragon tattoo that is half complete on his back. He then looks at my artist and says, "Can you make that into, like, a fire truck or something?" My artist just exhales deeply, as I can guess this guy does this a lot or something, and says, "Give me a few minutes to finish this up." I am a shop owner, and about a week ago a 20-something guy came in and said he wanted a tattoo that day. We were completely booked for the day, but one of our artists talked to him about what he wanted and scheduled him an appointment for the next day. He said he wanted RIP, full name, with a wax drug bag next to it. Okay, a little weird, but not the strangest request. He leaves a deposit for his appointment and makes a comment that money is no object. About an hour after he leaves, a police officer comes in. He said he was looking for this guy because his girlfriend wanted them to do a welfare check on him because she was afraid he was suicidal. Turns out the name the kid wanted in his tattoo was his name. So, RIP, his name. We were told they were going to continue looking for him, but if he came in for his appointment the next day to call them. He didn't come in for his appointment. I hope that he got the help he needed, and I saved his deposit for him if he ever comes back. At a shop in Los Angeles years ago getting some work done, asked the same question to the piercing lady. She said a guy comes in regularly, full business attire, 3-piece suite, briefcase, Oxfords, a real Patrick Bateman type. The first time in he wants to get his dong pierced. So he goes to disrobe and from his waist to his mid-thigh he is covered in Disney tattoos. Like covered. Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Pluto, the whole gang. He also already has a dong piercing. Actually he has close to a dozen. After his initial visit he came in every few months to add a dong ring or Disney character. She said he was the weirdest client she's ever had. When I was in my 20s I was a body pisser and I managed the shop I worked at. A rather large woman requested a horizontal hood piercing. This is not uncommon. What was uncommon was her anatomy was very small. I could barely find her lady parts. So her clitoris was very small and her thighs were very large. She was also very nervous and kept clamping her thighs together. I tried helping her breathe and relax. This did not help. Finally threatened her that if she didn't stop clamping her thighs together she would have a needle in her thigh and a crooked piercing. She somewhat cooperated and I finally got her piercing finished. One of my worst ever experiences in a woman's crotch. Former pisser here. I have also had this situation. I think, was with her and she kept shutting her legs so he wouldn't be staring at her snatch so I had to make him leave. On a related topic, a guy I know found out the hard way not to stand near a bonfire with nipple rings. It was just as hilarious as you think it might have been. This made every horrible thing I've seen in this thread completely worth it. I was getting a tattoo a couple months ago, and my friend came with me, because he was thinking of doing some work himself and wanted to check the whole process out. He's asking the artist a bunch of questions, and he finally got to the big one. He leans in close and goes, "What's the weirdest crap you've ever tattooed on someone?" We got two really good ones. Well, the first paid job I ever had was a bunch of stars coming out of a girl's ass crack. I also did one where a guy wanted his girlfriend's name on his arm. Winto. That's not the bad part, they had already broken up. I asked my artist about this and he told me a great story about this good looking blonde woman, maybe early 30s, wearing a nice suit. She came in with a picture of a dog and wanted a memorial portrait tattoo of it and set an appointment for the next week. First thing he thought was weird was that the picture of the dog looked like just some random dog picture that she found in a magazine or something. Then she shows up and informs him that she wants the tattoo on the inside of her butt cheek, like right next to her butthole. Not one to turn down an interesting story, he says, "Let's do it." So she strips down and spreads out and he starts. As if most of it isn't weird enough, at this point he notices that she almost seems to be getting off to it. Her squirming seemed normal at first because people do because it hurts, especially considering the location. But when she started moaning he knew something was up. He said the tattoo took about twice as long as something that size should have because he was having trouble with not laughing and also had to wipe the area constantly because it was hella moist. Hella moist, oh man. My friend is a tattoo artist and had some trashy lady and her gangster looking boyfriend come in wanting nasty ass tattooed across her back. Because it was her boyfriend's pet name for her, my friend refused to do it. After some debate, she told them that if she still wanted the tattoo in a year, she'd do it for half off, thinking the problem was likely to take care of itself. A year later, there they are again. Reluctantly, she relented, after explaining this would be hard to remove, hard to cover up, and reminding her that it was legit permanent. 2 weeks later, she was back wanting it covered up because they broke up. He stayed with her for that year just to see if she would do it. I'm a tattoo artist and a pisser. There are several uncomfortable things in the job. I think one of the worst things is dealing with people coming into the shop messed up. One time we had a guy who was totally drunk and was messing with the liquor store next door and got pepper sprayed in the face and came stumbling in the shop knocking stuff over. One time I had a girl come in totally messed up and carrying around an old tube TV crying super hard saying she needed a place to stay. The worst one that comes to mind is this girl came in to get her hair cut. We let her know it was a tattoo shop. She said, okay, so this is how I want my hair, can you dye it too? Again, this is a tattoo shop. She said, okay, can I use the restroom? My co-worker said screw it, let her use it and get her out of here. So, she uses the bathroom, walks out, and when I check there's tons of hair on the ground and she starts acting super crazy, knocking stuff over and being irate, and my co-worker calls the cops. The cops come and thanked us because she escaped a mental institution in Oakland, which is 5.5 hours away from us. Not a tattoo artist or pisser myself, but I remember the pisser being extremely annoyed that day. Why, you ask? A guy was in there 3 days earlier to get his member pierced. He came back 3 days later, when I was there to get a tattoo, to come back and complain because he thought it was infected. As soon as the pisser said, why do you think it's infected, I saw in her face that she regretted ever asking. The guy got the piercing and then proceeded to do his girlfriend up the Hershey Highway the next day. She spent the next half an hour nearly screaming from the stupidity of the guy's actions, even after she told him to not have sex or anything of the sort. He wasn't the brightest bulb in the box. As someone who had his member pierced, I'm pretty astonished he was able to even have sex with it. The first 3 days I was healing, it was painful to even walk around, let alone jam it in some holes. I had to change down this woman's tongue bar. We offer a free shorter bar after the healing time, and as the newbie I got told to do it as my training. Well, first off, she smelled of actual poop, which wasn't a good start. Her whole skin and scalp area was flaking on the shop, which again wasn't that great, but hey, I'll look past and just deal with. Well, in her mouth was where the actual smell of human excrement was coming from. Every one of her teeth was covered in a yellow-white slime of plaque at least a few cm thick. The whole bar in her tongue was covered in the white slime too. I held my breath and tried to undo it, the whole time her mouth salivating a brown liquid on my hands. Literally couldn't budge the thing due to the plaque and spit, so had to get my boss lady to help me. The look in her eyes was so sad when she saw me needing help. The smell hit her too, so she held her breath and tried her best too, but accidentally bumped her teeth with her hand as she was trying, which ended up being dentures that fell out, leaving a slime trail down the lady's shirt and onto my boss's shoes, spattering this thick cream everywhere. Never have I wanted to laugh and throw up so much in all my life. I just about lost my dinner reading that. Frick that, bro. Last time I was getting a tattoo, I asked my artist this question. Apparently at least once a year someone tries to get the tip of their dong tattooed. He apparently has an $800 flat fee and a $300 ball handling fee with a no refunds policy. Earn it or burn it, so to speak. Apparently a guy tried and lost about 1/2 inch of the first line and bailed. Artists made $1,100 for 5 minutes of prep work and 1 second of actual tattoo time. You have been spotted by the money pigeon. Comment gimme gimme and he will bless you with good fortune. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.